Hi, I'm Trooper Smacka.
Hi, I'm Trooper Wellman,
Please stay tuned for a behind-the-scenes look at being a state trooper.
and together we can make a difference.
Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios with Trooper Wellman and Trooper Brems. Oh, we have a special guest again.
Yes.
You know, the thing that Trooper Talk is that's really happening is that we keep getting more and more special guests that provide this great insight into what we're doing. And so, you know, each guest has a different thing that they provide that is really special.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so I'm really excited, obviously, when you come on, and that we keep bringing different people. So tell us who you are and what makes you so special, because I see you on the news all the time.
My name is Rayanne Brems. I'm a trooper with the Nevada Highway Patrol. I've been with the Nevada Highway Patrol for 3 years now. I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm special, more so that I'm just doing my job. But yeah, I'm glad to be here. I've been able to sit through a couple of these so far in the last couple of weeks with Trooper Wellman, and it's very exciting.
And so, Trooper Wellman, so, you know, when you come on, we sit, we talk, you know, everybody loves it. We get to have a special insight into what a trooper is. And so with the last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of different guests within the Department of Public Safety
Yes.
that showcase different things. So again, I come back to that, you know, within a career, you don't have to be in one particular thing. You can go into multiple agencies. And so talk to us about, you. I saw you last night on the TV as well, right?
Yeah, you know, I think it's important to keep bringing these guests on because the Nevada State Police isn't just highway patrol and it's not just state troopers. We're a family, and part of our family is multiple different entities. So you've met Andrew Bennett, which was for Office of Traffic Safety. We work side by side with Office of Traffic Safety. They're a huge partnership with us that helps get us grants to get out there and be more proactive and fund all these multi-agencies to come together to do, you know, specialized assignments, such as if they're going to do a speed enforcement in an area that needs some more attention to slow people down for safety. Or you've met our retired chief, you know, Ann Carpenter. She helped create history throughout our agency, so she will always be part of our history. And it's important that anybody that comes to be part of our family knows our history and what it takes to get to that level and everything she went through. So it was such an honor to have her on your show. As well as you got to meet one of our community partners, Nevada Donor Network, which April is Donate Life Month, and we're partnering up with them again, and we're getting all our first responder agencies here in Southern Nevada, as well as in Northern Nevada. So it's a statewide project we're doing for the month of April that we're going to be touching on throughout a few more episodes, and they help sponsor us for multiple community events to get us involved with our community, such as Special Olympics. They always provide sponsorship for that. They do Speedway charities for us, for the children charities down at the Speedway. They're just a great community partnership that not only do we support their mission, but they always want to be able to provide resources to us to make us successful in our job as well. And I just think it's great for people to see all the different community partners that make us the Nevada State Police. And then to touch on your actual question, yes, we have multiple different divisions within our agency, such as parole and probation, the Nevada Highway Patrol, we have Governor's Detail, we have Capitol Police. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And what's neat about that is, let's say Trooper Brems has been a trooper for 3 years now and she wants to change it up. She can transfer over to one of our other divisions, and she's still within the Nevada State Police, which is awesome. And she's still part of our family, but yet now she gets to change it up and do something new and expand on her knowledge of what she's learning as an officer and seeing another side. So it's very, very awesome. And if anybody has that passion and want to help their community, we always encourage them to go onto our website, nevadastatepolice.com, and apply.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And, you know, with all the troopers, I think they all provide something that's very unique that they're able to share with each other.
Absolutely.
To make each trooper a little bit better.
It's all about diversity, and that's what makes us us, is everyone is different and unique in their own way, just like you said.
Yeah, 100%.
The other thing is that every single day, if you're not learning, you're doing something wrong in this job. So every single day is a new day, every single day is a new challenge, and every single day you learn something new to make yourself a better person. Usually you fail forward typically, because you make mistakes just like any other human being. However, as long as you learn from those mistakes, it makes you better in the long run. And I learn from my coworkers every single day.
And since you've been on, unfortunately, we've had a couple of passings,
Yes.
and there wasn't any for a long time. And, how does that impact you being sort of new in this particular line of work?
So I was actually working the morning that Sergeant Ben Jenkins was killed. And we were notified by our sergeant, and I sat on the side of the road and I listened to all of the radio traffic because I came on at 6 a.m. It was interesting to me how someone that I have never met, had exchanged words with, or anything like that could impact me as much because he wore the same uniform that I did. And obviously, I mean, I'm part of Honor Guard now. I wasn't able to be a part of his funeral, but after that happened, I knew that I wanted to join Honor Guard in order to honor the brothers and sisters that I work with, if that day ever does come. God forbid it doesn't, but and then obviously Micah was a huge part of all of the Honor Guard festivities, and I was also working that day, and I listened to the whole situation. So
let's try to get her emotional, right? Like we get. So you're in your car.
Mm-hmm.
You're on the side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to of what happened, right? And you're hearing firsthand count now, not something that the civilians would hear, right?
So for Sergeant Ben Jenkins, we already knew that he was gone. However, they were searching for the suspect, and so I listened to that part of it because it happened so early in the morning. With Micah, I was actually at training, and I jumped in my car to go grab lunch, and I ended up wasting the whole 2 hours listening to the event. And as I walked in to go get lunch, my phone blew up because they were telling me that Micah got hit. And I'm going to get emotional. Here we go.
Join the club.
It was a very difficult day because it was way closer to home.
And so after you deal with that, and then you have to drive, and now you have personal time for yourself, right?
Right.
Do you reflect on your life? Do you reflect on what makes you really cry to the point of, like, are you proud of what you're doing? All those things?
Absolutely. I'm proud of what I'm doing. And I'm grateful that I have such amazing people that I work with every single day, because I can lean on them in those times of need. If I have a bad day, Trooper Wellman is probably one of the first people that I call. If I have a really bad scene, or if I saw something that was different and I haven't seen it before, Trooper Wellman is definitely my first call because she's peer support, and we've created a relationship through that, working on the road together, that I know that I can call her and she will absolutely help me come down or say the right thing to make me feel better. Not saying that I don't have other places that I go, but she's definitely always one of the first calls, and I rely on my coworkers a lot for that.
And Trooper Wellman, we always talk about shoes. Mm-hmm. Right, because we see the shoes and this and that, and I was watching the thing, last night, with on the Summerlin Parkway.
Yes.
Right, and I saw glass. You know what I mean? And I thought every single one of those shards of glass is a piece of a windshield or a piece of a window, or you know what I mean? And so, seeing the patrol car parked like this on the highway. It's devastation.
Yeah.
And so, when it comes to you, Trooper Wellman, you stand in front of the camera, right? And so you put a big smile on your face and say, I'm hurting inside, but I won't let anybody see that. And so I want everyone to know that we're here for the safety, right?
Yeah, this position has been very interesting and eye-opening for me because I respond to all of our critical incidents. And so last night we have a fatality, and someone lost their life, and there's someone's loved one in the roadway, and we have to conduct our investigation. We have to do our job, right? But that's still someone's loved one right there on the roadway, and you can't help but think, what if that was my loved one? And so you always want to treat them with respect, as well as the community, they're walking by, things like that. Like, there's just a lot of different elements that go into these fatality scenes. So when media shows up, if I show more of my human side, I could take the chance of possibly crying, or I almost have to go into a robot mentality just so I can tell you the facts, because I don't want to show too much emotion, because I have a job to do, and I'm okay with that. That's why I took this position, and I need to explain to you what happened out there. And at the same time, I do want to portray emotion, because I want people to understand the severity of what just happened, and that's someone's loved one that's not coming home now because of what happened. And so it's a really weird balance that I have to do on the side of the road there, as well as just being human in myself, dealing with the fact of, like, that could have been one of my loved ones. And it's just a very, very weird emotional balance that I experience, as well as stress. I'm dealing with stress because I'm trying to make tweets and talk to the media, and I'm talking to all these different people, and I don't want to give out wrong information, and I don't want to say anything incorrectly. And it's just a lot. It's just a lot of emotions. I'm very honored to have this position, because the department felt they could trust me with this authority and this responsibility, and so I'm very grateful. But it's just different. It's very different from just being a road troop. It's just different responsibilities.
Yeah. Well, you do a great job, both
Thank
of you.
you.
You know what I mean?
I agree, she does a good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's get to some pictures. How about this?
Yeah. How about that, Trooper Brems?
So, you're here. You weren't there that day, right? You're driving to work on a normal day, right? And you get a phone call. Not a phone call, a transmission, right? All right, so
It was a phone call, actually.
It was a phone call. So walk us through.
Earlier in the, I work graveyard, so I work 10 p.m. to 8 in the morning. And at nighttime, we work closely with our allied agencies, because there's just not a lot of people on the road at nighttime. So we work together a lot. So Metro calls our dispatch and lets us know that they're working a suicidal subject on the 7th floor of the South Point parking garage. And at this time, they don't need our help, because typically they'll call us if they need traffic control or something like that. So I continue about my day. I'm doing my duties just like I always do, making traffic stops, trying to find a DUI. And I get a call from our sergeant that's on duty, because he ended up making his way up there, and he calls me and he says, hey, can you come up here? Metro's asking for a female trooper. And I said, of course, I'm on my way. So I run lights and sirens there, and I get there, and I get out of my car, and my sergeant says, do you feel like talking?
It's okay.
Do you feel like talking a 14-year-old girl off the ledge? And I haven't talked about this, like, barely at all, so this is why it's all coming out.
And it's a happy ending.
Yeah.
And it just shows you the
Yeah,
things we
no,
go
this
through and the emotions we feel. It's very,
I can only imagine.
it's heavy, you know?
Like
It's heavy.
you know, and let me tell you, you don't have to talk. I mean, you know what I mean?
No, yeah.
But I
it's
will
good.
tell you that, like, you know, the reason that I want to talk about this is because there are people right now that are thinking about giving up their life.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so as hard as it is for you, like, we have to get to these people.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So
I'm not going to say no to my sergeant, so I walk up there and thank God for Officer Ragusa that was up there, and the Metro officer that was also honored on this day. And we teamworked, and we worked together in order to get this young female to come down eventually. But there was moments where she would stand up, and in my mind, I as a law enforcement officer, you always have to think about the what ifs and prepare yourself for them, so you react a certain way, and it helps you in the long run, because if that event ever happens or anything like that, you've already thought about it and you know what you're going to do. And I've never thought about this before, so there was times where she would stand up, and the thought was going through my mind of, I'm going to watch this girl die, and someone's going to have to drive me home because I'm going to go into a fetal position because I couldn't save her. At the end of the day, that happened a couple times, but Officer Ragusa and I were able to get her down and get her the help that she needed. So,
and Trooper Wellman, you know, this takes into account, right, how many things that you deal with in a day where a normal civilian doesn't.
Correct.
Right?
And you know, what's hard is so she deals with this call, and they get this girl off the ledge, and it's a happy ending for the most part. They get her help, you know, they save her life, and then it's done. We're moving on to the next call.
Yeah.
And you just gotta move on. You know, we're pretty good at. Well, I can say that, like, when I was working in the yard with Trooper Brems, like, you know, we could tell our sergeant, like, hey, we need to go get a cup of coffee for a second. Like, we need to go decompress, or we can go pull over on the side of the road. We're going to talk about it. We're going to, you know, change the subject. We're going to reset before we go to the next call, because you don't want to carry all that emotion and not deal with it, because if you just keep burying it inside, it's going to come to the surface eventually, and it could be on the smallest, you know, situation, and then you're like, where did that come from? Or you might have an outburst against somebody, and that's why we constantly tell people, like, you don't know what we just went through. And so, like, sometimes when an officer has a bad day, and I'm not making excuses for them, but maybe they just had a bad call where they just talked someone off the ledge, and maybe it wasn't a happy ending, and yet they still have to go to that next call, or they just stopped you for speed, and they just got done dealing with a fatality crash where someone died because someone was speeding. And it's like we're processing and we're dealing with our emotions, and yet we're supposed to just be able to turn it off and just move forward. And it's very hard, because we are human and we're doing the best we can. And that's why, like, it's really important as her partner that I recognize those signs, and I take her aside, and I'm like, you know, are you okay? Or her supervisor sends her home for the night if she's not doing well. Or we have to look out for each other, because we always try to we try to be tough, right? We know what we signed up for. That's, especially the public will say that, you know what you signed up for, you know that you could possibly die or this and that. But the reality is we signed up to protect our community because we care. We don't really want to die. We have our families, and we do our best to deal with the emotions we're feeling at the time, and we work together. She brought up something we have within our division, and all the divisions have it, or I should say every police department and probably fire and stuff. It's called peer support. Each agency has their own title for it. Peer support is basically like, she can come talk to me in confidence. I'm almost like a counselor, if you want to say, but I'm her partner, and it's she can talk to me in confidence, and we can cry and we can laugh and we can talk about whatever she needs to talk about until she feels better. And that's my job and my role as her partner and her friend, to make sure she's okay, so that when she puts her uniform on the next day, that she's not going to have she needs to have a clear mind, because I don't want her to get hurt, or any of our partners. And she does the exact same for me. I call her and vent all the time, and that's what we do as partners, because we have to. Because going back to the original thing, right after she's done with that call, she has to go to the next call.
Right.
So it's just like, it's a lot. It's a lot.
And that's one of the greatest things about Trooper Talk. So see, we got you to cry, but now we'll get you to smile.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't want to
That
look
was
at
gonna
it.
take a little bit longer,
Right. You know, like, we want to know the human side.
Absolutely.
Right? So if we know the human side of the trooper and what goes into it, right? I'm getting the chills, because we can feel through the camera.
Yeah.
And so if we can see and we can feel, and hopefully that gets one person to not do this, or that gets one person to not drive or to make the wrong choice, the crying is worth it. because we saved a life. And I know that's what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? And so if you have to cry for a moment for that, but I will tell you that it's really, really important. And it's really important that you did what you did to save a life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so that does make you special, okay? And each trooper in their own way does what they do. Like when Trooper goes out to a scene and sees a deceased body and has to, talk in front of the media or whatever. That's very special. That takes a special person. And so what you did was very commendable. And so we're very happy that you're here, and I know that it makes Trooper Wellman very excited. You can see the smile, right?
I'm going to add one more thing.
Yeah, tell me.
Quick,
I want to hear.
She didn't say this detail, but that call, they specifically asked for a female officer because the girl was requesting a female officer. So because of the actions of Trooper Brems, she was able to make a deeper connection with that girl, which ultimately led her to come like away from the ledge. So yes, her and that Metro officer worked together, but ultimately she made a connection with that female, and that female was asking for a female officer. And that's what's important, is sometimes we all don't connect with each other, but if we can take note of something, let's say it's a religious thing, somebody is maybe Christian or something, and if I'm not Christian and she is, I know I need to step back because maybe she'll have a different rapport with them or a different connection, and ultimately the goal is to save lives. So we all work together as a team, and so it was amazing what she did that day.
Yeah, and that's what we talked to Colonel Ann Carpenter about, right? Which was the fact of the female officer or the female trooper, right?
Yeah.
That, it's not just the, male, and that's the end of it. We need females as much as we need the males for, and this is
Absolutely.
a perfect example. Thank goodness you are working.
Yep,
Yeah.
50-50 for
Right?
sure.
A lot of these agencies probably don't have female officers working, you know what I mean, or around the clock like that. So thank goodness, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to this one. May 11th.
Same time frame. I was working day shift. I was actually heading to the office, and I live in Deep Henderson. This call came out at 95 in Galleria, and I was at about 215 and the airport connector, and I saw this call pop up, and it said that a pedestrian had gotten hit by a bus, and so I immediately jump off the airport connector. I take Sunset all the way across to the 95, and I'm first on scene behind a park ranger. And a gentleman was walking in the right shoulder, and he jumped in front of a car going 80 miles per hour. And when we got on scene, he is alive right now. He's alive, but he was tore up. His arm was bleeding significantly, and he needed to be transported. We didn't really know the circumstances of the call, if it was a like an auto pedestrian not at fault, or if it was like a suicide attempt. So I ended up applying a tourniquet to his left arm, and I ended up saving his left arm. So.
And when you came in today, I noticed and I commented on all the stuff that you can't really see because you're sitting, right?
Yeah.
And Trooper Wellman goes, "She carries the scissors, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about the scissors."
No,
So-
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
So typically, like when we have significant injuries, the first thing that fire does when they come on scene is they cut their clothes off because they want to see everything. They want to see everything that's injured so they can accurately take care of those injuries. Yeah, assess. So another story is that we had a gunshot victim at 95 in Rancho, and that was another time that I used my scissors just to cut him, get him ready for transport, because as soon as fire comes on scene, they'll throw a C-collar on as long as we've done that part of our job. Obviously, like blood stopping the bleed, and then they'll throw them up. They can get them to the hospital a little bit quicker. I use it all the time to get trap victims out of cars. I use my scissors more than anything else on my belt, and they make fun of me for it.
Yeah.
No, it's just because a lot of us have like knives and tactical
Yeah.
different things, and she busts out a pair of scissors, and those scissors, we've used them on multiple calls, and they're very, very handy. And so whenever I need scissors, I just call Trooper Brems. Like, there she is. So yeah, no, those scissors are super handy, but
And let's face it, once you leave, and we've had this conversation, once you leave in your car or whatever, that's what you have,
Right.
yeah.
right? And so in the event of an emergency, whatever it might be, thank goodness you have certain,
Yeah, every officer, every trooper wears different gear because that's what we feel that we need. And so some of us carry medical bags on our belts, on our legs. Some people wear drop-down holsters, this, that, to carry more stuff. And the more calls you go on, that's usually what dictates what you wear on your belt. So she's had a lot of medical calls, and her awards show that. And so that's why she wears a lot of medical gear, as well as people that are certified with medical backgrounds would carry. There's a lot of troopers that have medical bags in their car, like a full medical gear bag. She's one of them that has those, and it has like gauze and all kinds of stuff, more than my little first aid Band-Aids and like gauze, Neosporin med kit. So, it depending on your skill level, that's what you'll carry, and so everybody's different and unique in that way too.
Tell us about this video. Let's see if this works.
I was traveling southbound on the 95, approaching Southern Rancho,
Oh yes, I remember this video.
The wrong way.
and I saw brake lights, and brake lights are scary for a trooper because that means something is not good ahead. And this guy peeked around the corner, and obviously I knew he had to be stopped so he didn't kill someone. And we stopped him, and I took him to jail that night for DUI.
And this is the one where you reversed, right?
Yep.
I remember this, and okay,
we
because
talked about it
you
a
sent
lot.
me right. We talked about this a lot.
Yep.
Because here's what I said. Number one, I remember this trooper talk because I said to Trooper Worman, I go, I think that tractor, like one of these tractor trailers, I go, that tractor trailer is going by at like 75 miles an hour. I mean, like this is like these guys are, forget speeding, right? Like just a normal.
Yeah, we've talked about all the different dangers that not only did you put yourself in the line to stop that car to save everyone behind you, but he stopped in a travel lane, and so you stopped in a travel lane. So he was. We talked about how the semis and cars are coming up from behind. If they didn't recognize at your lights, and just like you saw brake lights, they saw red and blue, and if they didn't move over, that could have been, significant injury to you as well as the other person. And there's so many dangers that went behind that, but ultimately, you still
Saved
put
a life.
you saved
Yeah.
a life.
At least one.
Yeah,
no, 100%.
And you
And
put yourself out there to do that. Like,
Right. And that's what we talked about. I mean, like I couldn't believe the reversing, like you know what I mean. Like I don't know. I travel on the roads. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
And because of Trooper Talk, I drive much differently than when I did a year ago.
Absolutely.
And so. It's very, very scary.
yeah, and
so-
unfortunately, the reality of this could all been preventable
right.
if this individual would have made a different choice.
Made a different choice and didn't get on the roadway in an intoxicated.
Yeah, just
I don't know if we
plan
can say
ahead.
if he was intoxicated, but however it was that he was driving down the road
Yeah.
in the wrong way direction.
Absolutely.
You know what I
all
mean?
been preventable.
All been preventable.
Oh,
Look at this.
oh.
What's going on here?
This is when we went to Washington, D.C. for Police Week to honor Sergeant Ben Jenkins. It's probably one of the most humbling things I've ever done as a police officer. And it was also one of the greatest trips I've ever been on. I've ever been on because of the people that I was surrounded with.
We had the opportunity that when Trooper Wellman came back, that she had great photos and videos, and I think we did one or two Trooper Talks on it, but it was very emotional.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's what Trooper Wellman kept saying, was that the people that were there, it was so special. And last week when we had Ann on here, and then she showed the picture of everybody in the bar, or
Yeah.
whatever that restaurant was, you know what I
Yep.
mean? And everybody was smiling. I mean, that's the camaraderie that makes, we wish that no one had to deal with this.
Right.
But unfortunately, people, law enforcement officers lose their life. And so we have to honor them in the best way that we can. And so, God.
It was a phenomenal trip.
And
Ash and I have always been close, like from the moment that I met her. But I feel like this trip really brought us even closer together than we were before, as well as Sergeant Smacka, Sergeant Jake Fisher, Trooper Winder, Trooper Bosnar. All of us that were there from our agency definitely became closer because of this event, and I'm super thankful that I was able to be a part of it.
yeah, no,
Our honor guard has gone through a lot in the last year. We've lost 3, 2 in the line of duty, but 3 in last year. And we've cried together. We've laughed together. We've made memories. We've met our families, because a lot of us brought our families and stuff. It truly made our bond deeper for sure, because we wear that uniform. This is our honor guard uniform. And we got selected to be on this team to honor our fallen. And so it's truly an honor, not to be cliche, but it is. And we all have the same purpose, the same mission. We all feel the same, and our goal is always to just honor our fallen and do right by the families. And so we all lead with our hearts on this team, and it really showed on this trip when we had never even met the Jenkins family before, because Sergeant Ben Jenkins was up north in our Elko area, and it didn't even matter because we were all still connected. Like, we were there for them, and then we ended up becoming super close with them.
Yeah.
And now we talk to them on the regular,
Yeah.
and to all his kids and his wife, and it's awesome. Like, it's so bittersweet.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah, amazing family. It's unfortunate we had to meet them for this situation, but you know,
We're
were there
happy that we could have been there to be there with them and support them
Yeah.
and during this time and honoring him.
Exactly.
Yeah, no. I think it's wonderful. And I forgot, we unfortunately lost Trooper Fontaine.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was 3 troopers that we lost, not 2. I said that in the beginning.
Exactly. And
Right,
then-
you know what I mean?
And Trooper Fontaine, I have never that man was such an impact on our community as well as in our agency that that one rocked us so hard as a team. I literally have never seen so many of us cry and just hug each other, and we're just literally someone said the comment that when we were posted up guard on his casket to pay honor, when we'd come back, it looked like we came back from war, just because we were all so distraught and so just devastated, defeated, because we lost our friend. And we've just had a rough year.
Yeah.
But that's why I think we just really, really lean on each other throughout all these experiences to get through it.
And I always come back when that happens. I say, everybody loves you. And everybody supports you.
Yes.
You don't have to worry. You know what I mean? There might be a few people that have like these crazy notions in their mind, but everybody wants you guys to do good, and supports you in every way.
Yeah, no, we truly appreciate that.
We can only feel, and that's one of the things that makes what we do here so special.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we have special here in Las Vegas is we have a Las Vegas sign.
Yep.
And so a lot of people take great photos and things like this. And so one of the things that I found very special was when I went to Sergeant Smacka's promotion was the mentorship. And I always keep coming back to that, that everybody was there and everybody was like, we're not the most important thing, you're the most important thing, so we can teach you. And then they had the new troopers there, and they said, okay, we want to show you the right way that we do things. And so it's really great because it shows how it's consistent.
Yes.
And so one of the things that we have to have is consistency to make sure that we can try to keep our roadways safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Okay, so talk to us about what we have here.
So one of the things that you touched on is, Trooper Smacka and majority of our command will always tell you that they work for us, we don't work for them. And that's kind of the motto, because our supervisors want us to succeed and be the best that we can. And they always want to be able to, if we need to get into training, anything to help us grow as an officer. So this is a tradition that our Southern Command does, where when they hit a certain part in their academy, they do the strip run, and I think it's about 4 or 5 miles, and they run all the way from the Hilton all the way down to the Vegas sign, and they do it as a group, and they carry their guide on, which is their flag. And it's a moment that it's tough and it sucks, but when they reach the sign and they really the corporals at this academy, they want them to see the city that they're going to be protecting, and they want them to run next to the people and the strip. And we had 1 October, the shooting, and so they talk about the history of that, and they just really want them to understand what they're walking into. And it's just a really good bonding moment as a class that they get to experience that, and it's tradition that we all had to do it. And so it's a sense of accomplishment as well once you do complete the run. So
in the middle of the run, you're like, I can't do this anymore. I need some water or something, right? Like, don't they have a little car to drive me there? You know what I mean?
And when you feel like that, they're yelling at you to say, this is what it's going to feel like when you're fighting for your life.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Some of them are wearing
We're showing you.
backpacks because they have their water, but
Oh,
yeah.
So okay.
So what,
essentially, like it's a it's a mental achievement, is these long runs and these things that the academy does for our new cadets is trying to get them out of the failure mentality, because your body is actually an incredible thing, and your mind runs it all. So if your mind isn't in the right place, your body's not going to be in the right place. So with these runs, especially those 4 or 5 mile runs, hikes, I didn't do the run for my academy. We actually hiked Lone Mountain, and then we also did a run around where our academy was. But every single minute, it felt like you couldn't do it, and every time you look up and see everyone else around you, it makes you want to go just that one more step further.
Mhm.
And then they put it in your mind that you might have to deal with this one day, when you're fighting for your life, and you're gonna feel like you want to give up, but you can't. So it's just a simulation, trying to get them out of that failure mindset.
Yeah.
You bring up such a good point. I remember in my academy, mine was in Carson City because we didn't have the Las Vegas Academy. So I'm up there in the snow and we're running. And I remember feeling like I wanted to quit and I couldn't run anymore. I was so tired. And we were on like I think like 4. And I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And I remember the corporal yelling in my ear saying, your partner needs backup. They're in a fight. Are you going to push through it and get to them to help them, or are you going to stop, right? And I thought about that. And even though it was make-believe, I was like, he's right. I need to run faster. I need to get to my partner, right? Because that's the reality of it, that you're going to be so exhausted at some point and you need to push through in these situations, because Trooper Brems is relying on me to get there, or Sergeant Smack is relying on me to get there. You know, we rely on each other as our lifeline, and so you have to push through.
Yeah. And again, great learning lessons, right? I come back to the same thing of unfortunately the suicide, right? Where, sometimes people need a little bit of encouragement, right?
Yeah.
And that's what this is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a great intermission in the middle to tell everybody, because it's really, really important. It's very inspirational. And if this is the way that we can save a life today, we can save a life by being inspirational.
Absolutely.
You know? All right. Wrong way crash involving pickup truck.
Yes. So this was the other night. We had a blue Ford F-150 traveling wrong way on the IR-15. They were going southbound in the northbound travel lanes from St. Rose is when we got the call. It's graveyard. Trooper Brems will tell you that, especially in the rural area on going down towards state line, it's really hard to get troopers down there quickly, and they're rolling code. So by the time that we started to catch up to attempt to save, stop this vehicle, I had already gone head on with a semi-truck. And honestly, I don't know how this individual's alive. If you look at the truck and you look at the size of the semi, I mean, I don't understand.
He flipped over the semi-truck.
Correct. The semi-truck overturned because they attempted to turn to avoid. And when they went head-on, the semi-truck actually became fully engulfed. So luckily, the driver of the semi was able to exit the vehicle and did not sustain any major injuries. The driver of the Ford pickup was airlifted to UMC Trauma, but he was in stable condition. We did suspect impairment on this crash as well, but we'll know that later in the investigation. But it all could have been preventable again. And that's what's frustrating, is because that could have been the life of someone. And luckily, nobody died, but it was that close.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, whether that be that driver's life or the semi-truck driver, that they're just trying to make a living and get to and from work, and it's just unnecessary.
This truck is destroyed.
Destroyed.
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know how they walked away. Something was watching over him.
and let me just say one more thing. 85 times approximately, somebody is doing the drinking and driving before they get caught.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Or doing something like that.
Yeah.
We have to put a stop to this.
I know. It's
Like
unnecessary.
it's totally unnecessary. Living, not living. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
thank goodness the person is living, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's just so upsetting.
I think
It
it's
is.
ironic with the sign in the background says DUI.
Oh, I know, right? I
Where?
saw that too. Actually, that's one of the reasons
DUI
I
to
posted that.
California.
I posted that photo because it's just unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Gets me so mad. Let's see what we got on this. 3-vehicle crash on Beltway on the off-ramp.
Oh, yes. So this was actually, the preliminary details was this was a medical episode. And it was during the day. And this is just, what's the word I'm trying to say? Like, just, you never know what can happen while you're driving. And so it's always like Trooper Brems was saying, the body won't go where the mind hasn't. So if you kind of play these situations or scenarios in your head as we talk about them, you as just a civilian driving on the roadway, you'll be prepared how to react to. We talk about road rage all the time. If you see a wrong way driver, we talk about things you can do for that. So this situation was a vehicle was traveling all over the roadway and actually at quite a high rate of speed, and was swerving off into the dirt, had sideswiped a couple vehicles. It sideswiped 3 vehicles, so they pulled over to the shoulder, and the vehicle ended up crashing, I believe, either into the wall or maybe it was a light pole or maybe...
And then overturned, right?
Yes, it overturned. Thank you,
I
yeah.
think it was a light pole, and then they overturned.
It did overturn, yes. And it was a diabetic episode. Oh. So, like, you almost want to have sympathy for the driver because it's a medical episode, but they could have possibly killed all these people. So we have to find this balance here. So you have sympathy for the driver because it's a medical episode and you want them to be okay and you're glad they're okay and you're glad everyone's okay. But at the same time, if you do have medical conditions, you need to make sure you take personal responsibility. If you're not feeling okay, don't get behind the wheel. Call a family, a friend. Don't drive that day. Plan ahead. Take a lift. Go to the doctors. Go to the hospital. Don't get behind the wheel if you're not feeling right or your blood sugar's low, because this could have been very, very bad. It could have had fatal consequences. And so luckily it was everything, for the most part, was property damage. Everybody was okay, but it could have been very, very bad. So just, if you ever feel like you're not 100% to drive, just don't get in the car.
Don't get behind the wheel.
Just don't even put yourself in that situation. It's that simple,
And you get behind somebody like that and you don't know that they're having a medical episode.
Exactly.
Right? You don't know that they just had a fight with their loved one, that they, maybe they put a firearm in the car, maybe they put a knife to their, like all these things. And so like one of the things that I would say, when we've showed the videos where, the trooper sort of in the same way as Sergeant Jenkins, you know what I mean? Who's just doing their job and rolling up to something that, and so something like this, and all of a sudden you don't know who's behind the wheel.
Right.
Maybe they have, if they're diabetic, they have the insulin needles.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, we have to be careful of that. And so let's make the point of this. If you see something, call Star NHP.
Exactly.
Yeah. See something, say something always.
Right.
We rely on our community a lot to report reckless drivers, and in those circumstances, if it's safe for the caller, we ask them to follow so we can get them faster. Live updates are always helpful. I know that it's not always the safest, and we don't want anyone to put anyone else in harm's way. Like if there's reckless driving at reckless speeds. But we rely on our community a lot to get impaired drivers, reckless drivers, unsafe drivers, anything that would hurt anyone in the public off the roadway. So we ask that if you see something, please say something.
And they're exempt from the cell phone law.
Yes, they are.
Correct.
And for the emergency.
For emergency
Yes.
situations,
For
you are
emergency
exempt from the
situation.
cell phone, yes.
Right. Okay.
I posted this one just for you to laugh.
Deflated, HOV. So, let me tell you something. You want to know something? So they call him HOV Bob or some HOV, I don't know, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And it's this little thing that you put in the car. And I wanted to get it for Johnny.
It's a blow up.
And it's like a doll or something that, you know what I mean? But okay. Number one, it's against the law, right?
Yes.
It has, and I think it was this state, if I'm not mistaken, where
It was Trooper Smacka, or Sergeant Smacka.
right, where the funeral.
Yes, he stopped the hearse with
Stopped
a
the
deceased
hearse.
inside the car, and
Right.
we all.
Let's give a shout out to Trooper Smacka's mom. Hi, Mom. How's it going?
Hey,
Great
Miss
to see
Smacka.
you. Make sure you're there, Johnny. Make sure you make a time of that. You know what I'm saying? All right, Trooper Smacka. So yeah,
Yeah.
so and they were in the HOV lane,
Yeah.
and a person who's not breathing
Yes.
is not considered the same as a person
A
who's
living,
breathing.
breathing human
Right.
can is what constitutes a passenger for this for a vehicle to be in the HOV lane.
Right.
So Trooper Brems actually helped me make this post.
No, that was all. That was all Trooper Wellman. Her wittiness is incredible.
So one of our troopers sent me this, and it was a blow-up doll, and he didn't even realize it was a blow-up doll until he got up to the car and then realized that wasn't a real person. And
You're like, can I see your ID? And they don't move.
It's pretty legit. And so we just decided to put some humor behind it, that this driver was deflated when he was educated on the actual rules of the HOV lane. And then we also wanted to put a safety message in there, and we told him, seatbelts save lives. It's so easy. Even a blow-up doll can wear a seatbelt. So.
Right.
So please just put it on.
Just put it on. It doesn't make a difference. You can save your life even if you're deflated.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, that's great. I love it.
Classic.
Johnny, I looked for that though. I because I saw somebody who had it and I thought it would be like a funny joke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because Johnny would never drive in the HOV lane, but he would have it and drive in the regular lane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it would just be funny. But anyway, it's one dead, 2 others injured in a crash near Jones. Now, I will tell you that we were in the store, and all of a sudden, like, there were cars like nobody's business and tacticals and this and that and all this, and we thought that something happened at the school. Every single day that I'm outside, there are cars that have loud mufflers and the spiel and all this that are ripping down this road at 70, 80, 90 miles an hour, and I won't even go that fast on the freeway anymore. You know what I mean? Like, and so I don't know. It's too fast. You know what I mean? Like, somebody wants to speed or this or that, but it's too fast that the people are traveling on the highways as well, right? But on these roads, they're just cruising.
Yeah. So I had the opportunity to shadow Trooper Wellman for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I got to hear Andrew Bennett talk and Carpenter talk. I've watched Trooper Wellman do numerous interviews with the news, and it truly ignited my passion again for what we do and how important it is what we do every day.
That makes it very, very special. So I'm glad,
Yeah.
Because, we need you. So let's just say that 30 miles an hour is a tremendous amount over the speed limit.
Tremendous.
You know what I'm saying?
Significant.
And so, like, were the tires inflated?
Right.
Right.
Everything else comes into play.
All those, are you, going around a corner? I was driving this morning, and I saw a guy in an SUV going around the corner on the 215 before Flamingo, right? Maybe 115 miles an hour around the corner where the truck was not even straight, right? And so you're like, this is an SUV, right? This is not made to do 120 miles an hour, 110, whatever he was doing, but he was flying. It doesn't make a difference, car or whatever, but I'm just saying that I don't think that people take into account the vehicle.
Absolutely.
And what the vehicle, that any car can do those speeds, but they're not made to. And when you get one of these little smart cars or something and they're doing 100 miles an hour, it's just not safe.
They're deadly weapons at the end of the day. It's tons and tons of metal going down the road. It's essentially the same thing as a missile at those speeds.
What comes to mind for me right now is we live in the Henderson area, and just last week, the life of a 13-year-old was taken because of speed. A 22-year-old, and he could have been the best person in the world, made a bad choice and was traveling. Do you know what that road is? Probably 35, 45?
I think it's 35 up there.
It's a residential area. We have schools. It's probably 35 on this road. And if you don't live in that area, you don't know that this road has a dip in it. And the road has a dip in it. And people will try to blame engineering, the roadways, this, that. Ultimately, it comes down to personal responsibility. If you travel that road at the speed that it's supposed to be at 35 miles an hour, I've taken that dip many times at 35 miles an hour, even not knowing it was coming up, you can still maintain control of your car. And I'm not going into details of the case because it was Henderson's case ultimately, but the speed, the 20, it was on the news. The 22-year-old said he was going at least 80 because he hit that dip too fast. He lost control of his vehicle and he struck and killed a 13-year-old. And it was at like 5:30 in the afternoon. And now that 13-year-old is not coming home to his family. He didn't even get to live his life because of the choice that was made to go fast. And, I'm sure at the time the driver, not to speak for them, but they probably were their intentions were just having fun with their friends in the car. But that's where you have to really, I've said this before, when you get in the car with somebody, if you can't look at that driver and say, I trust you with my life, you shouldn't be in that car. And as the driver, if you can't look at your passengers and say, I understand the responsibility I have over all your lives right now, then you shouldn't be driving. And so if you're going to speed, you need to understand the consequences that come with it. And it's super unfortunate. And we didn't even know this child. And Trooper Brems and I drove past the scene, and I left a flower. And it's just, I walk that street all the time because we live in the area.
Close to home.
It's right out of school. I pushed my daughter in the stroller on that street. That could have been me. And it doesn't matter who it is. It's the fact that a life was lost. And
It shouldn't have been.
Shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
It could have been prevented, and it wouldn't have happened if we just would have slowed down. And so I think when seeing is believing, and when our community feels tragedies like that, it makes everybody slow down, or makes people think twice about different things, put down the phone, maybe not messing with the radio. It's unfortunate that seeing is believing, because we can tell you story after story, but sometimes people don't understand the effect of it until it affects them personally. And so.
Yeah, and
Sorry, going back to what she said about personal responsibility and accountability when you're in control of a motor vehicle, when you have passengers. I used to go to school in Reno, and we would carpool when we would come back home for our like vacation or break. And every single time before, I typically drove because I had a car. So every single time I'd call my mom and say, hey, we're on our way. Every single time, even to this day, just remember that you have other people's babies in the car.
Oh.
You are responsible at that time, and people really have to start acting like it.
Yeah.
Take more responsibility.
And what I was just going to say is that, going into Henderson, I forget where it is, but, going around that corner, there's that one dip where, it's like right on a bridge where, it jumps like it's a flat roadway. And it right when you're going down towards Henderson.
You talking on the freeway?
On the freeway.
Oh yes,
there's
that's
the
the
one
interchange,
little bump, right?
the 95.
And then there's the other one when you're getting on from the what is it, the 15 to the 95 getting onto the 15. There's the little bumpy thing,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're all over Las Vegas.
Yes.
These little and even on normal. Roadways,
service streets,
right?
yep.
You know what I mean? And so it's very easy to lose control when you're not paying attention.
Yes.
And so when we're traveling and we're driving, we have to pay attention, to make sure that everybody's safe. So
I mean, just at the end of the day, like how Andrew Bennett said, these roadways, the speed limits are there for a reason, and there's numerous experiments and statistics that go into figuring out why or what a speed limit should be for a certain roadway, and they just don't wake up one day and say, oh yeah, 35.
hung on a track.
This was NASCAR.
All right, so who's this with the speed gun
I
here?
don't know.
I don't know who that person is, but I know this, that they are.
The music kills me.
So that car is doing 135 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
But they're not weaving in and out of traffic, right?
Yeah, no, they're
They're
professionals.
also professional drivers with helmets and safety gear.
Yeah, strapped inside of a car. So,
It's so funny.
See, now we get this
man.
other emotion. See, we had before. Go ahead, tell me. You guys are both
the
laughing.
backstory on this one was we were at NASCAR,
Yeah.
and so there's all these RVs and people, and I saw a family have a radar gun, and so I was like, hey, can I borrow that for a second? And so we just thought it would be funny, like, no matter where we're at, the troopers, we're not going to miss an opportunity to run some radar.
Right,
so.
exactly.
But it's crazy because this was a curve, and that's why they were going slow on this curve, because they were going faster than that on the track when on the straightaways. But it just shows you, A professional race car driver is going 136 miles an hour on a curve. And now you really, and not to like kill the vibe, but look at the Ruggs crash. He was going 156, if I'm not mistaken, on a surface street. And you have professional race car drivers that are driving 136. That's 20 miles lower than that fatality crash. Or, you know, I could go on and on about different crashes and stuff with speeds, and it just goes to show you that it is so, again, seeing is believing, and look how fast these cars are going, and these are professionals, and so nobody should be traveling at speeds that fast.
I agree. You know what I mean? And it's very. I know from personal that, you know, traveling at speeds like this is, it's just too much. You know what I mean? And so the thing is that everybody just needs to leave 10 minutes earlier. They just need to slow down. They just need to drive better. They need to listen to your mother. All right? But
It's personal
you know what I mean?
responsibility.
Like, and
Absolutely.
so when Lieutenant Munoz was on here, we were talking about the drug interdiction. But, you know, one of the things that he kept talking about was, you know, the personal responsibility. And so, you know, this comes down to the same exact philosophy. You know, if you have a car or truck or whatever it is that you drive, you know, we saw some guy yesterday who put a super engine on a go-kart or something. You know what I mean? If you have a go-kart that goes 150 miles an hour, you know what I mean? Take it to a place that you can drive it.
Yeah.
Where drive it till your heart's content. But know that you're not going to hurt other people, and somebody's not going to come home,
Just do it
not be able to
safely.
come home because you made that choice.
Absolutely.
You know? So, can you believe it? Trooper Brems, we appreciate you coming.
Thank you for
know,
having me. Truly appreciate it.
it was really great. You know what I mean? I hope that the emotion really gets to somebody. Really, you know, like somebody really sees that and they go, oh, okay, you know, we'll put up the number for like the suicide hotline and all these things, so that, you know, if you see something, say something, call NHP. But if you see something and you know somebody who needs help, you know, like you guys, both of you ladies, you know, have some form of support, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, like have somebody that at least maybe you can
Make
make
sure
a
you always
phone
have that
call
outlet.
or something like that. You know what I mean? I hope you come back again. Trooper Wellman, you know, next week, you know, who knows what'll happen. You know what I'm saying?
No, she'd be pulling people
but,
out of the hat like a magician.
Right. But we appreciate you coming, and you know, let's make one more mention very quickly on the 26th.
Yes.
So Boulder City, the car show.
Yep.
You're gonna bring Trooper Micah May's car,
Yes.
maybe the little patrol car with his son.
Yeah, they're gonna try to make a little appearance.
A little appearance, and you know, we always want to give a shout out to them, and you know, obviously to Sergeant Jenkins' family and
Absolutely.
Trooper Fontaine's family, and you know, everybody who's passed, and you know that they're in our hearts, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you again. We appreciate you ladies
Thank
coming.
you.
Thanks for having us,
We'll
Neil.
wave at everybody and tell everybody to be safe. Okay.
Be safe.
Be safe, guys.